So let's dive in. We've got a lot to talk about today because the first thing I want to talk about are those 3 juggling balls that we're going to be working on. Really, it's 3 parts that we're breaking this into. The first part we've already talked about quite a bit, and that's that understanding and learning. Okay, so when we throw this understanding and learning ball up in the air and we're using it to juggle, we're going to be working on forming your personal recovery plan. Right? This is building your path back to wellness. We're going to be reducing your body's stress response, which you're probably getting an inclination of understanding that it is within that stress response that does create that pain experience. We're looking at improving problem solving and goal setting. We're going to be likely saving money on healthcare because we're doing this work, right? Yes, we could go to a therapist, we could go to a physiotherapist, we could go to acupuncture, we can go to a chiropractor, we can go to a doctor, but in the end, we have to put some work into this. It is building our path to wellness. And as great as it would be to have that whole team build it for you, you're going to have to do it. So you're going to be empowered also to help others with their persistent pain. And this is the one thing that you're going to come and realize is that when you start talking to people who have persistent pain, whether it's back pain, shoulder pain, fibromyalgia, whatever it is, you're likely going to be able to tell a part of your story and talk about what you've been learning. All right, so here we go. The second ball that you're going to be working on throwing up in the air is that resetting and reconnecting ball, okay? This is where we have a lot of systems in the body that protect us from harm, okay? We have our muscular system, our immune system, our adrenaline, which is our sympathetic nervous system, and we have these pain systems. And they've all been worked really hard to get you into this place of persistent pain, which means if you remember that new way of learning, persistent pain is created because it's trying to overprotect us. And all of our systems start overprotecting us. Muscles hold tension to overprotect us. Okay? Our immune system, our inflammation starts working overtime to try and protect us, but it's an overprotective response. Our adrenaline system, right? That sympathetic nervous system, that fight, flight, or freeze response, it becomes overprotective. All of these things contribute to setting the pain system up to be overprotective. So we're looking at this resetting and reconnecting ball. And this is going to improve those connections between your mind and your body. Okay, you're going to be able to start moving a little more smoothly, more confidently. We're going to be enhancing your memory. You're going to be able to think clearer. That's a bonus. All right, we're going to be helping to make your body stronger and fitter. And when we look at the next ball that we're going to be juggling, this is going to become clear. But within all of these balls that we're going to be juggling, one of the things that you're going to do is you're going to be reducing your risk factors. Okay? You're going to be reducing your risk factors for heart disease, dementia, diabetes, depression, and more. All right? That's a good thing. So that third ball that we're going to be working on juggling is that movement and loading ball. And if you've already done the first exercise video, it wasn't a lot of moving, but we really focused in on our breath because in terms of resetting some of the systems that we're going to be working on, your breath is going to come in very handy. Okay? You will always have your breath as a tool. Practice. Just like I mentioned in the movement video itself, the more we practice this, the more it becomes that tool that we remember that we have at our disposal, which helps us reset all of those systems. So the movement and loading ball, the reason it's movement and loading is you could have movement like swimming, or you could have loading like holding on to something like a child, okay? But when we put them together, something like walking, you're creating the movement and you're loading your body. And you're going to end up having more tissue adaptation, meaning your tissues respond to go, hey, they're working harder. We need to create more cartilage here. We need to build more bone strength here. We need to build more muscle strength here. Muscle strength helps support the joint stability. It all is connected. With that, your movement and loading ball, okay, we're working on training the body and brain at the same time. You've heard me talk about kinesiophobia, right? That fear of pain due to movement. And there's a good chance that you have a response, whether you're looking at someone else do a movement or even you thinking about doing the movement, your body goes, oh no, we don't want to do that. And if you can recognize that, that's a huge step in the idea that kinesiophobia can be so strong, such a strong pattern in the body, that looking at someone else move or thinking about you moving in a certain way creates that pain response. I worked with a client once, and she was working with shoulder and neck issues. And she's like, I can't even go to the ballet because watching ballet dancers on the stage sets me up for pain. So one of the things we did was graded motor imagery so that she started to be able to retrain her system to visualize not only being able to watch someone else do the movement and know that that is not tissue damage to her body, but to be able to visualize herself doing the movement and know that that is not tissue damage in her body. Because that's one of the things that happens, right? We see someone else move, we get that sensation of pain and the body goes, oh yeah, see, my back is still really bad. There's no way I could do that movement. But you didn't even do the movement. So we want to separate that visualization from our pain system to be like, that isn't tissue damage. And that's a huge step. But the second you can connect that dot, we're on the right path. Okay. So with that movement and loading, you're going to reduce your body's stress response, just like the resetting ball. You're going to improve your learning. You're going to activate brain pathways and give yourself that sense of safety that, hey, I can do this movement. It is not tissue damaging. I'm not pushing too hard, and I can continue doing this, right? This also helps to reduce all those factors: heart disease, depression, dementia, diabetes, a whole bunch of things. Within all of this learning, okay, we're learning, we're understanding, we're moving our body, we're learning how to move our body again. All of this is based in the idea that our body is neuroplastic, bioplastic, and we're using this bioplasticity just as much as our systems use that bioplasticity to become overprotective. We're going to reverse that and get the system to calm down so it understands what is actual tissue damage danger and what is more of a response to being overprotective. All right? So those are the three balls that we're going to be juggling. If you can remember them, close your book. Remember what they are. We're understanding and learning. We're resetting and reconnecting. And we're doing movement and loading. And the more we go through even just the movement videos, you'll find that we're slowly, gradually working into this to find our sweet spot and build our path, your path back to wellness. All right, so let's look at some of the learning strategies. And we kind of talked about some of the learning strategies already, but in this understanding for deep learning, all right, again, it is the work that you have to do, because one of the articles I wrote in the past was, doesn't every health professional know about persistent pain, and can't they teach me? And we've kind of talked about this already, how that medical system, when they go through their schooling, this stuff, as much as it's 20 years old, it's still fairly new and it hasn't reached that curriculum. So unless your health professional is someone who is passionate about dealing with persistent pain, there's a good chance they don't quite understand it. And the fact that you're going through this program, you might end up with a stronger understanding of this, especially because you are living the physical experience of it than they do. So no, your health professional can't just take you through this. You have a coach, that is me, and we're going to work on this. The other aspect of that learning is that when you spend time with whichever health professional may even have this understanding, it's a small sliver of time. If you look at your entire day, you've got 99% of the time with your own self, well, 100%, and maybe like this small 1% of the time, even learning from this program. So you have to do this practice. You also have to have patience. And we're going to talk about those 3 P's, okay? We already talked about practice. We've talked about patience a little bit. And you also have to pay attention. But paying attention is a fine line, because we can become hypervigilant, but we can also be ignoring. We want to just create an awareness. And we're going to be talking about that more as we go through this program. So when we look at this next page, okay, this next page is about learning strategies for everyone. Before we flip to it, I just want to talk about why we're doing this learning. Because in this book, and they've mentioned it a few times if you do have the book, where after people have gone through their program, the NOI group program, they ask them a year later, okay, how's your pain levels? And they're like, great. Like, some people don't even have pain anymore. And they ask them, what is the biggest factor that you think helped you with your persistent pain? And everybody says it's the learning, it's the understanding why my body creates this persistent pain and how I can look at this and understand what might be happening in certain instances that helps that. So with everybody who's gone through the program, their biggest takeaway is this understanding. So if we can set up better learning strategies, rather than you sitting here watching the video, back in your chair, staring at your phone, scrolling, okay, put your phone away, put it in a different room. Give yourself these half hours to focus. And I'm trying to make them as engaging as possible. Have your notebook, write notes down. So with that, learning strategies. When we go through the book, there's going to be little times when I go action, right? Something like that, where you have a clapperboard and you see it. This is your chance to stop, push pause, and kind of recall what we talked about, or notice, write things down in your notebook and say, yeah, you know, she talked about this and this is the dot I connected. When we write things down, journaling, note-taking, it slows our mind down to be able to process it. And I've talked already about how your mind wanders, and there can be good mind wandering, right? That helps think of things and connect those dots and grow ideas. But there's also which your mind is more trained for. I will give you that. Swirling down the rabbit hole of thoughts. What if, worrying, stress, all these things. But what if this pain is something? When we talk about pausing and writing things down, that is a good way of slowing it down and being able to process it. Okay? The what ifs, the worries, we're looking at doing this part first. If you feel you have any red flags that come up in terms of your back pain, talk to me. Talk to your doctor, talk to your physiotherapist, anybody, okay? But do know, because you are here, there is a portion of your pain experience that is neuroplastic, and that's what we're working on. When we build into the movement aspect, there's a good chance that's going to help your structural pain, okay? Your joints, the muscles, whether they're weak or tight, your breathing, all of that is tied together. But we talked about those red flags earlier. If you feel you're still questioning, talk to us, okay? Your support team, me, we gotcha. All right, learning strategies. Let's get through these here because we're full of all these different learning strategies. I talked about that taking energy now, or taking action, right? So there's insights, okay? When we look at these insights, I want you to monitor how you feel. When I talk about a specific thing, if you go, oh yeah, that's really good, I see that dot, or no, if I start doing that, that's going to be bad, or confusion or frustration, okay? All of these different emotions, don't push them down, write them down. Because when we've been living with persistent pain, there's a really good chance that you have been pushing those things away, ignoring them. Now, there's a fine line between taking them all on and being overwhelmed by these sensations. And there's that middle ground of saying, yeah, you know what, this is this. I'm going to write it down and maybe give myself 5 minutes to think about it, feel it, and maybe notice where it comes from, what I can do about it, if I can change it, if I can't change it, all of those things. Okay, I want you to reflect, right? I talked about how you can close the book and reflect on what I just said. Push pause on the video, reflect on something. You're going to hear these learning strategies and you're going to notice one does help you connect. You've done one in the past that you tend to go to. Try and use them all, okay? I know we have our habits, but see if you can open that up and have a few different extra learning strategies. Talk out loud about what you're learning. This is like talking to family members, friends, and go, you know what I learned today? And see if they ask you a question and you know the answer, or you need to come back and we can learn more, all right? It's explaining what you've learned, okay? And focus on putting effort into this. Focus on knowing that when you're going to watch one of these videos, take your phone, put it away. Your phone will survive for 20 to 30 minutes without you. I know it's hard to believe, but it is possible. Okay? We need energy. We need short-term goals and long-term goals. When we look at that energy, do come to these sessions not on an empty stomach, not in a rush, not thirsty, not having to go to the bathroom, all of these things. We want to be able to come into this video and go, okay, I'm ready to learn, right? That's that focus. And setting these short-term and long-term goals, a short-term goal would be watching the video, okay? A short-term goal would be saying, okay, 5 minutes today, I'm gonna lay down and breathe. A long-term goal, okay, is being able to play with the grandkids, being able to get back to your favorite activity, being able to travel again, being able to go in your car and not be in pain after 10 minutes. That's a long-term goal as well. We're going to talk more about goals in a minute. Okay? I'm going to send some motivational quotes every so often, and anything that really connects to you, write those down. Put them in your notebook. Draw big colorful circles around them so that when you need to, you can look at it and help your motivation. Now, last little learning strategy is tactics. This one's important, okay? I'm putting a big star here. This one's important. When we start talking about words that you're not familiar with, please pause the video, look it up. Because if you keep going past these words that you're not familiar with and we keep using them, your mind starts setting you back. And that learning doesn't progress. It feels like you've hit a wall. And in order to get over that wall, we need to learn those specific words. So don't just bypass them and go, whatever, I'll figure it out later. Push pause, write down the word, okay? Maybe look it up. Maybe go back in your book. You might be in the book somewhere. Ask me. Either way. Resist the urge to Google. I know that word might be something that you don't know, but resist the urge to Google. Looking up the meaning of a word could be good, but sometimes Google takes you into that rabbit hole of what if and worries and stresses, right? Don't cram. If we have an appointment coming up and you still haven't watched 3 of the videos, let me know. Watch 1. We can have that session. Don't sit down and think you're going to watch 8 hours of video at once. That's not going to happen. You're not going to be able to effectively learn what we're trying to do. Repeat and recall, right? We already talked about that. Closing the book, going, hey, what were those 3 juggling balls? Do you remember? Okay. Understanding, resetting, reconnecting, and movement and loading. Do you remember what those 3 P's were that I talked about maybe 5-10 minutes ago? Okay. Patience, paying attention, and practice. All right. Things like that. Then make time, and we talked about this one in the previous video, make time for letting your mind wander, because mind wandering can be good. It can give you that chance to connect dots, to be creative, to think of ways of change. It can also swirl you down that rabbit hole. So find that balance. If you find you are continually going down the rabbit hole, pause, write it down. When you can recognize you're going down that rabbit hole and you can stop and write things down, makes it so much better. Okay? It slows it down, gives you that chance to mind wander and likely head into that creative outlet. Now, we've talked about this already. This is not a quick fix. This is a journey, and every step on the journey is a good step. Sometimes you might drop down a couple steps. Sometimes you might jump up a few steps. But in the book, okay, when we look at this book, we've got the starting point. And when you look at the starting point of this mastery staircase, you've got a big step at the beginning. And I got to tell you, the fact that you're in this program and you're starting to learn and you're still in it, you have accomplished this first step. We're going to talk about this, taking these steps on the next page, but the big step is the first one. And you can see the little Bilby at the bottom. He actually has a few extra steps made so that he can get up to this step. You're here. Congratulate yourself. We are on that step. All right. Do know there's no quick elevator. We've tried that. We've tried looking for the quick fix. If we can do this work, it is so much more effective. All right. When you're climbing this staircase, I want you, this is going to be a little bit of homework right now. You're going to push pause in a minute. I want you to write down why you are doing this. Okay. You're probably going to be like, well, because I want to live without pain. That's not really your why. I want you to write down what your why is, okay? My why was to be able to get back to the activities I love. I had to give up skiing. I couldn't ride my bike as much. I couldn't play with the kids in the playground. I wanted to continue doing natural movement and everything else that I love doing. So that was my primary why of getting back to the activities that I love doing. What is your why? Playing with grandkids, being able to travel, doing a whole bunch of different things, okay? Even getting back to work. Work is something that gives you satisfaction. That is not an invalid reason. Getting back to work is a good reason, all right? We want to find these motivations for why we want to go through this program. So you're going to push pause right now. Everybody's values are unique to them. So write down everything, the reason why you're in this program. Hit pause, and then I'll see you in a minute. Welcome back. I hope you had at least one or two reasons, but we're going to look at how to congratulate yourself on each step, because each step is an achievement, and I want you to be able to pause. And the biggest reason I want you to be able to pause and go, yeah, I did that. I watched the video. I did the exercise. I had put some effort in. I did some writing. All of these things, I want you to be able to take a step, even if it's just 5 seconds, and go, yeah, that was good. Because when you do that, you flood your system with those happy hormones, and that inspires more motivation to be able to do it again and again and again, because you can do this, all right? With that, understanding that each step is a step towards the goal. Reading a page in a book is a step. Making a change in your diet is a step. Connecting a dot is a step. All of these things, even if it's just walking 20 seconds longer than before, that's a step. So break these things up into achievable mini goals, because each one of those is a pat on the back. And I know we're so used to society being like, yes, you reached this big goal, you won an Olympic medal, pat yourself on the back. But you know how many times they patted themselves on the back to get to that point? Okay? We need to do the same thing. Now, here's the thing. You're going to take another action step. You're going to push pause again, and you're going to take 2 minutes to reflect on what you've already learned. Okay? The juggling balls, the staircase, the 3 Ps, the fact that you're here to do the work. Push pause again. Write down like the 3 biggest things that you've learned in these first 15 pages already. We got one more page. Here we go. Okay. This is one that we need to watch out for. And these are what you call knowledge shields. Because even at the beginning, when you got this book and you looked and you went, no, this isn't for me, or someone talked to you about how the pain experience is partially due to how our brain and body connect, and your brain, you're like, no. Just like when I was given that first book by my teacher, The Body Keeps the Score, that was a knowledge shield. I looked at that, I'm like, that's not me, right? Remember we talked about Billy and she read Explain Pain and she's like, that's not my back. This isn't going to help me. Those are knowledge shields. We want to be aware of when they pop up, because they're going to pop up. And I want you to start acknowledging them, because the first step in all of this is acknowledging when that happens. All right? So maybe push pause, write down those knowledge shields. But you know what? We need to be honest, and we need to be able to look at how what we're learning here doesn't fit in to what our current understanding is. So these knowledge shields are going to pop up. So don't get frustrated. It is part of learning. Not all knowledge shields are bad. You've got one more piece of homework today, because you're going to write down what knowledge shields may have been negative for you, which ones might have been positive for you. So one of the ways that knowledge shields are not bad is that they give you time to critically think about what you're learning. And to critically, this is that point where that knowledge shield pops up and you're like, okay, I don't believe this, but here's the evidence, but how does this fit? So you start being able to connect these dots and think about how different aspects of what we're going to learn fit into your story. All right? So, last bit of homework. I'm going to finish this off. You're going to open up that notebook again and write down a couple of knowledge shields that you've recognized already and how they've maybe contributed to your critical thinking, or maybe they'd contributed to be like that shield of, no, this can't be true. I don't want to look at this, right? That could be it too. With that being said, that's your last bit of homework. You're going to hit stop and I will see you in the next video.